Hey folks, Craig Danger, vinyl record player. Howe, here to talk about what? Here to talk about debut albums of 1975. Most importantly, underrated debut albums. Got 5 of them here. Really good music, interesting bands, interesting choices. So, you know what? Safety is always first, even for Danger. Buckle up. Hey folks, and we're back. Let me tell you, as I said kind of in the intro, 1975, not an easy year for debut albums, particularly for underrated ones. Frankly, even semi-rated ones. It was a patchy year. A lot of debuts, but just not really much that I have in the collection, nor much that you would consider as, this is legendary picks. So, had to dig deep, but we did so. We're going to start out right off the hop with, you know what, frankly, could be a bit of a brain fart, or who knows, because I'm reading multiple things about how about the Baker Gurvitz Army from, is it 1975 or is it 1974? Well, according to Discogs, it's 1975. But you know what I'm saying? According to a lot of other places, I am seeing that it is in fact. Is it 1974? You know what? I'm starting to think yes, because I am seeing this in AllMusic, and I believe even Wikipedia may mention this. So you know what? Who cares? We'll pretend it's 75. I think it probably was 74, to be honest. Let's talk a little bit about the Baker Gurvitz Army, and most importantly, this debut album, which super underrated. Very good album. Did chart on both sides of the pond, as it were. And you know what? Baker Gurvitz. Who's the Baker Gurvitz Army, you might ask? Well, that is Adrian Gurvitz, his brother Paul Gurvitz, and of course who? Ginger Baker. Legendary drummer from, of course, Cream, from Ginger Baker's Air Force, and from the Baker Gurvitz Army. Now, these guys got together, formed out of the ashes of, basically, Adrian Gurvitz goes way back, even to the 60s, when he was in a band called Gun. They had a charting hit in the UK, and that band lasted for a little bit of time. His brother Paul, I believe, may have also been in it as well. Then they moved on to a band called the Three Man Army, which, if you can find those LPs, those are early 70s, very rockin', surprisingly good stuff. They're not easy to find. They may be easier to find in the UK than they are in North America. Adrian Gurvitz goes on tour with the Buddy Miles Express, and basically he's a guitarist. That's what he does. He rips. So after that, after he's done the tour, he meets Ginger Baker. They put together a band with again, Ginger Baker, Adrian Gurvitz, and his brother Paul. And yeah, it's really, really a good debut album. With 74 or 75, again, I think it's probably 74. But we're going to cheat, because damn it, Discogs, you're telling us one thing, and Wikipedia is telling us something else. This debut is one of their best albums. In fact, it could be their best, although again, I'm very partial to the sounds and vibes of 1976's Hearts on Fire. So again, 1975, is it Discogs? Is it? It's probably 1974, but I'm a cheat out of the gate. And this is, of course, my most underrated pick for, let's just say, 75, or perhaps extremely late 74. One thing I wanted to mention is I just wanted to thank everybody for liking and subscribing lately. The algorithm's kind of picking up the old Danger channel. It's nice to see getting some great comments from viewers, and I always love that. I always love rapping with music nerds. Craig Danger is, of course, a crazy music nerd. So again, thanks to everybody. Like and subscribe. Always helps get the videos out to people. So really enjoying this lately. So thanks. How about a double Gurvitz entry?
How about a double Gurvitz entry?
Yeah, that's right. Who comes up next in 75? This we know is 75. This is a guaranteed 75. So says many sources, including Discogs. How about the Graham Edge Band? Graham Edge, of course, you will know him as the drummer for the Moody Blues. And obviously, post the Moody Blues Magnificent Seven, really kind of first albums. I mean, they had an album before that, but kind of their mega albums, they took a break. and Graham Edge went solo. And who did he call? He called Adrian Gurvitz. And Adrian Gurvitz comes in to do some ripping and to do some singing, as we know he does. Fantastic kind of super 70s gatefold on this one. I mean, they're playing pool, they're looking cool, they got the mustaches. It's 1975, y'all. And as you can see, this is kind of a fun sort of proggy type of cover. Kind of reminds me a little bit maybe of a Budgie cover, or some of those famous Yes covers. But you know what? This is a fun album. Again, Adrian Gurvitz, oh, what a player. The man can really rip, and he's not ashamed of it. He loves his solos, and he loves, kind of ripping it all over the album. This is what he does, and you know what? This is actually a fun album. Available pretty cheaply if you can find it. I mean, you're going to get this for under $10. And frankly, like I say, it's a very good listen, and it's very fun. Adrian Gurvitz does most of the singing on this one. On the second LP, I believe it's called Paradise Ballroom by the Graham Edge Band. I think Graham Edge does a little bit of singing on that one, because basically this is practically an Adrian Gurvitz album with Graham Edge on it, because like I say, most of the songs written by him, and wow, great singer. But again, you'll be looking for Gurvitz both on the Baker Gurvitz Army, obviously, and on the Graham Edge Band featuring Adrian Gurvitz. You'll be looking for that ripping. If you like your guitars saucy, you're going to love this. And Graham Edge Band with Adrian Gurvitz, sort of a weird, underrated debut from 1975. Well, obviously, there are times in one's life when one must talk about perhaps the sexiest LP ever created by a couple. And this, of course, is Gwen and George and Gwen McCrae with Together from 1975. This, of course, is not only a debut, but it is, in fact, a one-off, because basically this did not go last for very long. Both the album, in terms of success, as in nobody bought it. There's a beautiful couple on the back. And also, frankly, because after this LP, Gwen and George McCrae would get divorced. So a little bit of a blazing fire on this LP that unfortunately burned the whole thing out. This album, from cover to cover, is fantastic Miami soul. These are very, very due for a reissue. But yeah, this album, cover to cover, all this music written by Clarence Reed, who also would be a soul performer on his own, both solo and as a sort of comedy body music guy called Blowfish, I believe, where he'd basically do cover of soul songs, but make them a little racy, throw in a little bit of the berries and the twigs and the giggles. But anyway, fantastic songwriter, and again, this album, top to bottom, is a funky delight, and woo, very sexy. But again, it comes down mostly not to George, who is a lovely man, I'm sure, but wow, Gwen with a complete and burning fire. The woman, everything she sings is just dripping, oozing with delightful sexuality. And again, together, George and Gwen McCrae, this is not only a debut, but again, they would not do another one. So this is kind of a one-off as well. But you want to talk about underrated? This should have gone platinum. I don't even know that it sold 100,000 copies. So yeah, George and Gwen McCrae, deeply underrated but legendary, in my opinion, album from 1975. Well, like I say, I've said this, 1975 was not an easy year. So went down to my local record store and I thought, you know what, we'll pick up Steve Howe's Beginnings from 1975. So of course, it's his debut album. He, of course, a member of Yes, longtime member of Yes, obviously great guitarist. This is, as you can see, it's kind of got elements of that sort of Yes cover design. Inside, we're seeing sort of a pastoral vibe there. And on the outside, of course, very, very much a Yes. I know the designers of Yes covers are quite famous, and I'm pretty sure they probably used them again for this album. Now, is this album outstanding and an absolutely mind-blowing piece of work? Absolutely not. absolutely not. But you know what? It is fun. And like I say, when you look at the, if you look at the sort of pastoral vibes here, very representative of the music. Now, Steve can play a guitar. He's not an Adrian Gurvitz. He's not ripping all over. There's not solos going wild and type of business. But you know what? He's a good player. And frankly, a lot of acoustic stuff on this. It's a very pastoral record. It's a fun record. But is this a record that you're just absolutely going to want to go running down to the store to go out and buy? No, it isn't. It's a good album, but I wouldn't call it great by any stretch of the imagination. But I'm sure it is fairly underrated because, again, the critics kind of slammed this one. Again, I'm hearing, elements of prog, but of course, also some kind of medieval sort of feelings. Also, perhaps a little bit of like British folk stylings on this one. And you know what? Steve's not a bad singer. This is fun. No real bangers on this one. But again, I got this one for $5. And the store I went into had 2 copies. They were both $5. So I basically took the one in better condition for only $5. So this is more of a value pick, but again, underrated. Steve Howe beginnings. This would not make it in any other year, to be honest. But like I say, tricky year for underrated debut albums, and certainly that's why Steve Howe's Beginnings is here. But it's a good one, and again, get it under 10. Give it a listen. If you're a Yes fan, you're probably going to want to get this anyway. Steve Howe, Beginnings. And let's finish her up here with how about Yvonne Fair's The Bitch Is Black from 1975 on, of course, the Motown label. Yvonne goes way back. I think she'd been signed to Motown around 71, 72, did a lot of sort of opening act work for the Temptations, Diana Ross, the Supremes. She did a lot of opening work for them. Released a few singles, I believe there's a couple of Norman Whitfield produced singles as well. But you know what? This album finally released in 1975. Really a fantastic album. I just listened to this the other week, and you know what? Funky. Really funky. Like deeply funky. Like not just, oh, that's mildly funky and a lady does soul. This is, gut-busting kind of funky in places. And it actually, frankly, surprised me. Yvonne, as you can tell, she's wielding a whip here, friends. Lady's a bit of a diva. And in fact, like I say, this is a really fun album. Really funky. Oh my gosh, Yvonne, looking good on the back. Yvonne Fair, The Bitch Is Black. This is, I think, again, this is another one of those one-off albums where basically released once, never released another album. The big hit on this one was It Should Have Been Me, which was kind of a giant. It was a top 10 hit in the United Kingdom. I think they even re-released it in the 80s and kind of put together a video. Kind of a classic song. Her rendition is fantastic. I believe Gladys Knight also did a version of this, but hers is absolutely banging. But again, funky music show enough turns me on. There's a few kind of Whitfield-y sort of songs on this. And you know how we feel about the Norman Whitfield, legendary producer. And again, Yvonne Fair, The Bitch Is Black. Not a lot of, if you're looking to collect Yvonne Fair, not a lot to collect. Obviously, this probably mean like maybe she did 5 or 10 singles and basically this LP. And like I say, this LP is really good, cover to cover. Motown from 1975. Again, did not sell a lot, but again, if you weren't one of the big stars on Motown, your promotion probably sucked, and it definitely sucked, unfortunately, for Yvonne and The Bitch Is Black, which again, really good album, and she's a diva. Great singer, real power to her voice. Definitely coming from the church, and again, you cannot go wrong with this album. Gotta say, this show, we're probably weighting it a little heavy on the back. The soul picks on the show today, absolutely stunning. But again, both of the members of the Double Gurvitz, fantastic LPs that in fact I think should be in your collection. Particularly if you like rock and if you like prog, anything Gurvitz is very fantastic. So again, thank you again for tuning in. Obviously, like, subscribe. Been doing really well at the channel lately. Getting a lot of people watching. It's always nice to see a lot of great comments. So please, you got any debuts in 1975 that I missed out on? Let me know. because like I say, it was tough. I even found a list of like about 80 albums, and I'm like, I have not heard about like, I don't know, 65 of these bands even. Tough year, but you know what? Still a good year. And I guess at this point, I'm just going to say, you know what? Thanks for joining me, and I will go ahead and we'll see you on the next one.